Welcome to Helping Hands ABA PC. This introduction to Helping Hands ABA will cover expectations, professionalism, meeting the family, supervision, ABA basics, Porsche, Theralytics, telehealth sessions, and COVID-19 safety measures. Please enjoy. As an employee of Helping Hands, staff members are held to the highest standards for honesty, reliability, and professional integrity. At Helping Hands, we encourage open lines of communication by urging all staff members to bring questions, concerns, or problems to the attention of the supervisor. For issues that require more confidential discussion, staff members are encouraged to make appointments with their supervisor over the phone, through Zoom, or face-to-face at the center. When working directly with children, staff members should wear comfortable and stain-resistant clothing. You want to be able to easily move in the clothing you're wearing. All staff members should refrain from having excessively long nails, earrings or other jewelry, or loose long hair. I recommend if you do have long hair, wearing it in a ponytail. As a general rule, clothing must not be too revealing, tight, or depict images inappropriate for children. Below are some examples of clothing that you should wear and that you shouldn't wear. Appropriate clothing would be a pair of jeans with a nice t-shirt or some sweatpants, appropriate yoga pants, and a t-shirt or a sweater. Some inappropriate clothing is anything with rips or that are tight fitted or any inappropriate shirts. The example we used in this PowerPoint is on the lesser end of inappropriate, but this is just an example. We don't want any explicit content on any of our t-shirts. We don't want to offend the family in any way, shape, or form. Once you have accepted a home case, an assignment agreement must be filled out before you begin working with your client. Discuss what days and times will work best for you and the family. When working with a client, we expect you to commit to at least 6 months for your home case. If something arises where you can no longer work with your client, please contact your supervisor as soon as possible. At Helping Hands, we understand that sometimes things in our life are not in our control. We understand you may get sick or have a family emergency where you must leave your client on a specific day. But if you have the ability to let us know, that would be greatly appreciated. Or if you're planning on taking a vacation or have a planned absence for an appointment of any sorts, please fill out one of these absentee forms and send it to your supervisor before the date of your absence. By law, we are obligated to follow the HIPAA guidelines outlined. So some of these guidelines include that client information cannot be shared outside of the family and the BCBA on case. You may not accept any gifts from family. Speak to the family in a respectful manner. If something is of concern, speak with your BCBA on the case. Only access a client's records with written permission. Properly dispose of any information containing client information. Do not use patient's full name within hearing distance of others. Never share client's personal information over Messenger, email, social media, etc. And then all client information must be assessed of uploaded on Theralytics. This is just a few of the HIPAA compliance orders that we have to follow, but feel free to read the rest of them in our handbook or online. Ethical codes. The guidelines outlined below fall under the BAC Ethic Codes for Behavior Analysis. Some of these include follow the core principles, benefit others, treat others with compassion, behave with integrity, and ensure their competence. If you are unsure of what to do in a situation, gather relevant supporting documentation and consult available resources. Ensure there is a signed service agreement between the company and the client. Clarify the nature of the relationship to minimize issues with third-party services. Do not advertise non-behavioral services. Conform with laws and regulations and research. These are just a few of the guidelines, but for more information, please refer to the Helping Hands ABA PC Code of Conduct Manual. When going into the family's home for the first time, keep in mind there may be cultural differences. Respect the families and their culture, even if they are different from yours. Below are just a few examples of many. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact your BCBA supervisor or try to create an open line of communication with the family from the start. When you enter into the child's home, remember you are the sole service provider for that child. If there is any progress or concern for programs you are implementing, you are responsible for relaying that information to the parents and your supervisor. For your first session, your supervisor BCBA will attend the session. They will be there to answer any initial questions you may have. If there is concern with programming and you need help with the next step programming, contact your BCBA for assistance. This should be a refresher for many of you, but let's just go over it again. What is ABA? It's the science of learning and behavior. Behavior is anything that is observable and measurable. Remember the dead man's test. Anything a dead man can't do is a behavior. Below we have 4 images. One of a child jumping, one of a person that has lost weight, one of a person sleeping, and one of a child eating. 3 of these images are behaviors, but one of them is not. Can you guess which one is not a behavior? If you guessed a person losing weight, you're correct. Losing weight is not a behavior, it is the effect of a behavior. The behavior would have been counting calories or exercising or something of the sorts, but losing weight is not the behavior itself. Again, this is probably a review for most of you, but we're going to go over the 4 functions of behavior. The 4 basic functions that maintain behavior are attention from another person, escape or avoidance from a task or demand, access to a tangible item, or automatic reinforcement in the activity itself can be reinforcing. Another review thing for you guys. What are the ABCs of behavior? Well, they're antecedent, behaviors, and consequences. Why are we reviewing this? Just wait till the next slide. If you didn't guess it already, the reason we reviewed all this information is because you will be required to take ABC recordings during your sessions. Not every session you'll need to do this, but once in a while, if a new behavior occurs, we're going to want to take ABC data to understand why that behavior occurred. So the antecedent is what happened before the behavior is what occurred, and the consequence is what we did in response to the behavior. You'll notice there's also a notes section. This is to indicate if anything happened that's out of the ordinary. Like if you normally conduct your sessions and it's just you and the child, and this specific day, the parent was present for the entire session. That's just something we want to note in case there is an outside variable that is affecting this behavior. Remember, when you are taking ABC data, you want to be as detailed as possible. This will not only help you in the future, but it will also help your BCBA create better programs and better strategies for you to help work with this child.
Is set out to aid RBTs in understanding the functions of the Porsche Pro Data Collection app. After downloading the app to my Android device, I can then log in. After I've logged in, I'm brought to my main session page, where I can overview all of my upcoming sessions and any current sessions. To add a new session, I click Add New Session. From here, I can choose a one-on-one session, a group session, or a non-therapy or meeting session. After I've chose my session, I click Next. And now I can input all of my learner information. I'm going to select my learner. Here you can see I have a drop down of all the learners' teams that I'm on. If I don't see a particular learner and I'd like to run a session with them, it likely just means that I haven't been added to that learner's team. All you have to do is reach out to a clinical director or somebody who has access on the virtual clinic to remedy this issue. From here, I can choose my learner, select my date and time, and then choose my start of session form and end of session form if applicable. Once I'm satisfied with everything, I can go ahead and submit. And here you'll see my current session is available. If I'm going to be in an area where the Wi-Fi is weak or there is no Wi-Fi at all, I can opt to preload my session. In strong Wi-Fi, I'm going to swipe to the left, and here you can see I can preload. It's going to prompt me if I want to preload my target images. I'm going to say, okay. From here, you can see that my session has gone from scheduled to loaded. This means that I can access my session outside of Wi-Fi. Once I'm ready to start my session, I'm going to click on my learner, and it's going to prompt me would I like to start my session. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. As soon as I log in as the therapist, I'm checked in. However, there are two ways that you can check in your learner. The first way being from the target itself. If I click open the target and track data, you can see it prompts me to check in my learner. I can opt to choose OK. Alternatively, the second way I can check in my learner is by going under the menu tab, under attendees. Here you can see myself, I can check in my learner, and this is where I can also add any additional attendees that may be joining in on my session. For example, if I have a social worker coming in to observe, I could add the social worker. When they join the session, I can check them in. When they're done their observation, I can go ahead and check them out. This will leave a timestamp of the time they were there. Going back to our main target page, this is where you'll see all of your learners' programs. You can see here that we have A for acquisition, a green M for maintenance. Any generalized targets will be found under their own tab with an orange G. And the final color you may see on your screen is a yellow B representing baseline. Before you start collecting data, you do have the option to reorder your targets if you wish. Clicking on reorder will give these 3 bars. You can then click the bars and drag and drop your targets wherever you'd like them. Once you're satisfied with your order, you can set the order. You can also filter your targets. Clicking on the target filters gives you the option to hide baseline, hide acquisition, you can hide maintenance, hide targets that already have data collected, you can randomize the target order, or you can mix and vary. For example, if I only wanted to see my maintenance targets, I could hide all my acquisitions, apply my filter, and here you can see only my maintenance targets are visible. Now we're going to walk through the virtual cue card. You can see if I click on a target, the cue card expands. This is my virtual cue card. Here I can see the target, task name, the SD, and if I need to reference teaching instructions, I can do that through here. Clicking open the teaching instructions will bring me to a task description, mastery criteria, standard teaching procedure, example teaching procedure, how to generalize at home, and much more. When I'm done, I can click done at the bottom, or I can use this arrow. You'll notice that some targets have a go-to image button associated with them. Clicking on this button will bring you to an image of the target. If this were a receptive target, you would see the target image and 2 distractors. Going into edit mode, I can opt for a new set. I can shuffle the image if there is more than one image associated with it. I can change the visual field, or I can opt to have my images shown in a messy array versus neat. When I'm satisfied with my view mode, I go ahead and click again. This particular cue card is an example of a probe. You can see once I click on my answer, the answer has been grayed out. That means that this target has data collected and I no longer need to hit the target. I can then choose to go to the next target cue card or go back. Another example of targets that you may run into in data collection types within the Portia Pro app is trial by trial. For this example, we can go ahead and track our data throughout the entire session. Here you can see we have our last response, a total percentage, and a total amount of trials. Next to our ITD tab, we have our generalization. Any target that has reached mastery criteria will automatically progress within its life cycle to generalization. You'll find all of your generalized targets underneath its own tab here. Here's an example of a trial by trial target fixed with a prompt. So as you can see, independent is our only yes prompt. As I fill out my targets, you can see once I've hit the total amount of trials, my target prompts will disappear and fade out. You still have your last response, your total percentage, and the amount of trials. Next to our generalization tab, we have our task analysis. Under task analysis, you might see forward chaining, backward chaining, or total task presentation. And next to that, we have our man frequency tab. The man frequency tab remains expanded for quick access. And you can see here, I'm going in and starting all of my counts. You'll notice that my total count went from not attempted to 0. This is extremely important to do so that a 0 populates on the target graph when the data is sent to the virtual clinic for processing. Next to our man frequency tab, we have behavior deceleration. Here we have an example of our whole interval time sampling. I'm going to go ahead and start this program. Now every 30 seconds, I'm going to get a pop-up. I'm going to input my data, and then that pop-up is going to disappear for the next interval. Once another 30 seconds has elapsed, the pop-up is going to reappear, and so forth. When the pop-up appears, I can opt to put in my data and have it disappear again, or I can end the program completely and have no more prompts coming. I can also come back to the target itself and choose to stop it from there. The last tab you'll see here on the bottom is our ABC data collection. If you need to record a behavior during a session, clicking on the ABC button will prompt you to start an ABC event. You can then click OK. Now you can see that we have a timer going, we have the option to rate our event intensity, create a note if we need to, and here we can record any associated antecedents, behaviors, and consequences. You can see I can click next to them and I will have a count upwards. I do also have the ability to create a custom antecedent, behavior, or consequence if need be. If I wanted to track elopement, I could go ahead and add that in. And moving forward, I have the ability to track elopement for this learner. Once my behavior is complete, I can end it, or I can cancel it if I need to. Up here, you can see that we offer an extend session button. If you need to extend the time of your session, click on the button, put in your new time, and update. You can then go under the menu bar here and reference your new time. Activities are available if you want to gather extra insight in a particular activity. For example, circle time. As soon as your learners start circle time, you can check them in, and when they get up and leave circle, you can check them out. You can have multiple activities running simultaneously. And like your ABCs, you can also add in an additional activity if you'd like. Next, we have our notes. Notes are pre-populated from the virtual clinic anytime there is movement within a target life cycle. So for example, you can see that tax item, when given the feature, function, or class, went to completion. Has stripes, went from maintenance to completed. Notes are also handy for therapists to communicate with one another. So if a kiddo is coming in for a full day of therapy and they work with one therapist in the morning, it can be helpful for that therapist to leave a note for the afternoon therapist. It's important to remember that notes are visible to any therapist on this learner's team. To create a note, you go down to the bottom, add note, input your note, and then submit. Under notes, we have our forms. This is where you're going to find your start of session form and your end of session form that you've chosen, and also any other forms that may be applicable to your session. For example, if you need to fill out a toileting form, click toileting, fill out all your information, then save. You can see now that this form is living up under my current forms. I also have the option to start a form if I need to. And I can go ahead and save that form and come back to it and complete it at a later time. If I accidentally click on a form that I didn't mean to fill out, I can also swipe to the left and delete it. Finally, our ABC tab here gives us the opportunity to see any recorded ABC events that we have during that session. We can also go to this tab if we want to start a new live event or record an event after it has occurred. When my session's completely finished and I'm done tracking all of my data, I can go ahead and end and sync my session. To do so, I click on End Your Session. Here you can see we have some orange banners. We call these our soft warnings. Soft warnings occur if we haven't created any notes or if we still have attendees checked in, but we can still go ahead and end and sync our data. If we have a hard warning, the banner will appear as red and you will have to go address that issue before proceeding. And here you can see we have a session overview, any activities we ran, any targets that we performed, if we created notes, recorded ABCs, any forms that we filled out. If we're satisfied, we can go ahead and sign and finish, or we can go back and address any changes we need to make. I'm going to go ahead and sign and finish. Here you can see that my location was successfully retrieved. However, if you do get an X that your location was not retrieved, that's fine. You can still go ahead and end and sync your session. You're going to put in your signature and end and sync. It's really important to wait for that green check mark, which indicates that your data has been sent to the virtual clinic for processing successfully. Now, the only difference that you're going to run into with ending and syncing your data if you've preloaded your session is that you will get a prompt that ending and syncing will complete when you go back into Wi-Fi. We encourage all our BTs who are using a preloaded session to seek Wi-Fi as soon as possible in order to complete the syncing process before the end of day. Once you're done completing your session and you've sent it successfully to the virtual clinic for processing, you can go under your menu and log out to remain HIPAA compliant. The last two things I want to bring your attention to are our messaging option and our support option. For messages, click messages, and here you have the opportunity to send a private message very similar to email to anybody within your clinic. Fill in your title, fill in your message, and then send it. The last thing I want to bring your attention to is our support tab. If you ever run into an issue with the device itself or the app or the virtual clinic, please feel free to send a ticket. Going into support, you can create a ticket from here. Fill out all the information required, and then this ticket will be sent to your in-house expert. If your in-house expert is unable to answer your question, they can expedite the ticket to Portia International, where somebody on the support team will reach out to you as soon as possible. You've now completed your first session with the Portia Pro Data Collection app. Enjoy!
Okay, so if we're using Theralytics on our phone or computer, we're going to go ahead and go to Safari or Google, type in on the search bar helpinghands.theralytics.net, and it should take you to our homepage once you hit enter. You're going to see a username pop up. Go ahead and type in the same username you're using on Thread. Then the password should be the same, but again, if you've changed your password, just make sure you write it down. Once you've typed in your password, go ahead and hit login. And then you will see a display of your child on the dashboard. Then you'll go ahead and click on scheduling to schedule a session for your kid. Go ahead and pick any date you would like. it'll load up and you'll see a display chart. On there, we're going to start with the time. So just input the time of your session. So for this example, we'll do 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Then you're going to go ahead and type in your child's name. Make sure you're on the correct date when you're filling this out. You don't want to put a therapy for the wrong date. Then you're going to go ahead and click Telehealth Direct Therapy. When we resume face-to-face sessions, you'll hit Direct Therapy. But for now, we'll be doing Telehealth Direct Therapy. Then you're going to scroll down, hit Direct ABA Services, and then we're going to go ahead and hit Telehealth. But again, if we start going into the home, we're going to hit Primary Home, and then you will see the address appear next to it. Then we're going to hit Direct Therapy, and then if you have a reoccurring case, let's say you go see this client every Saturday, you're going to want to hit reoccurrence. Select the amount of time. So if you're seeing them daily, you can always do that. If you see them weekly, you'll want to check the days you're seeing them. So in this case, let's do Saturday and Sunday. And then you're going to say how often. So if it's every week, you're going to put a 1, every other week, put a 2, every 3 weeks, put a 3, and so on and so forth. And then you can add an end date or to end it after a certain amount of time. So if we're doing an end date, you'll end it on that specific date. So just go ahead on the calendar and click it in, and then that reoccurrence will end on that date. If we're going to end it after a certain amount of time, we'll go ahead and type it in. And then we will go ahead and hit save once we have completed that reoccurrence. And you'll see those dates appear. You can scroll down to see more dates. Then we're going to go ahead and hit continue. Then if we were to record this session on an iPad, we're going to go ahead and go into our Theralytics app, and you should see that date appear as one of the options. So if we were doing a session on the 17th, you would see that date appear like so. You can always change the date and see if you have more sessions. So as you can see, I've changed the date, and I now have 2 sessions available to write in information on. So we're going to click in, and then we're going to fill out our SOAP note. So this is our subjective, is how we think the session went, and the objective is going to be how the session actually went. Our assessment will be if we performed any assessments, and then our plan for the next session. You can also change the time, as you just saw I did. You have that ability to change the time in our sessions. So let's say you ended up staying for an extra half hour, or you had to leave early, an hour early. You can always adjust that during your session. So then again, it's very simple. You'll just type in what happened. We'll go into more details on the next slide about how you should fill out a SOAP note. Then you're going to go ahead and type in the guardian's name. And then you're going to go ahead and do your signature. So you'll just press add signature. And then go ahead and sign. Beautiful. And then if it's a face-to-face session, you would just ask the parent to go ahead and sign for you in their guest signature, or in the guardian signature spot. But since we are doing a lot of teletherapeutic sessions, you may not have that opportunity right now. So the next best thing to do is you'll go onto Safari once again. You'll click on that session, same session that you were just on. And there should be an option that says create session notes. So this is probably what you'll be doing for your telehealth session. Same kind of thing. You'll go into the subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. You'll fill out all of that information, and then you'll scroll down and you will see a save spot. Hit that save button, and then you'll see a button that says add signature. So you're going to go ahead and sign on your computer or your phone, but you can use your mouse if you're on your computer. If not, you can use your phone, and just go ahead and type right in that signature. Then you're going to go ahead and hit save, and you should see it was populated and saved at the bottom. And that's all you're going to be able to do for that. And then what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to contact the parents, send them a text. They should have their own login, and they'll be able to sign from their end. And that's how you'll get the signature for telehealth sessions. In order to create your SOAP note, you will need to schedule your appointment prior to your session. Session notes must be filled out during the last 5 minutes of the session, and a caregiver's signature must be provided. In the case of a telehealth and you are unable to get a caregiver's signature, a supervisor's signature will suffice. You will need to fill out the 4 sections. Subjective is a document overall opinion of how you think the session went. Objective is what you completed during the session, what programs you ran. You may discuss at least three programs. Assessment is any new targets you ran or any assessments you ran. This could also be from the VB-MAP assessment or any functional behavior assessment. And then a plan is what you plan to do for your next session. You can also write to discuss what you will discuss with your BCBA to solve for your next session. Session notes are reviewed by your supervisor, and the information is used for treatment planning. Please make sure your spelling and grammar are accurate, and the notes are as accurate and detailed as possible. Even during these difficult times, we are continuing to offer support through teletherapeutic sessions. These sessions are still unique to the individual needs.
So teletherapy is a very different way of conducting sessions. It's very different from doing it face-to-face, but children benefit because they maintain the structure that some of them need.
To increase the success rate during these sessions, we have ongoing parent coaching during the session to help create the most efficient environment for the child to succeed.
All right, Peter, time to check our schedule. Making an ice cream is all done. Now it's time for pronouns.
New York,
Good job. What country do you live in?
USA,
Awesome. You see with your,
right,
you hear with your,
ears,
you cut without.
knife.
We have been working with Hand in Hand and Helping Hands for the last 2.5 years, ever since our son turned 2. He made tremendous gain during his early intervention program, so much so that we decided to engage with Helping Hands for the at-home ABA sessions. We are very happy with the therapists that work with him. They are enthusiastic and are adept at engaging him through a fine balance of work and play.
Even now, as the sessions have moved online, they have very successfully transitioned our son into the online platform using some very interesting softwares, and he's continued to make gains.
So I just want to say thanks for everything, and it's a great agency. Thank you so much.
Telehealth can be very overwhelming when you first start. It is very different from a face-to-face session, but if done right, it can be very beneficial for the child. When you virtually conduct your telehealth session, I recommend using Zoom, Skype, or Google Hangout. All are great resources. Zoom is primarily the one I'd recommend. Utilize resources on the internet or send materials to your families prior to your session. You would like to prep for this session as you would for a normal session. You can also create virtual token boards or schedules to help engage your child in the session. Encourage parent involvement. It will make the session much smoother and much easier for you. In recent events, Governor Cuomo has signed an executive order allowing us to conduct ABA sessions in the home. For these sessions, you will be required to wear a mask and gloves, and you cannot bring materials from outside the home. These parameters are in place to protect our staff and our families. If you have additional questions about COVID-19 safety measures, please feel free to reach out to your supervisor. If you'd like more information on the executive order, please feel free to click on the link below. Thank you for completing the orientation presentation for Helping Hands Therapeutic Services, Inc. We are pleased to have you on our team. Please click on the link below to answer the questions from our quiz. This quiz will just be a review from the orientation session. It's very simple. There will also be a section at the end to write down any questions you may have. Please also give us some feedback on how you think this orientation presentation went, and if you would like to see anything additional added. Thank you, and welcome to Helping Hands.